On 20 January 2017, Church Street, Baileyton, North. A hard frost silvers the curbs as two plainclothes OCCTU watchers nurse cold coffee in an unmarked Focus. They have been sitting on the same silver Toyota Yaris for a fortnight, waiting for the face that intelligence unit briefings call the shooter to show. When Mark Richardson finally strolls round the corner, he is on the phone, hoodie up, hands in pockets, the picture of nonchalance. The moment he flicks the Yaris fob, the officers move. Richardson clocks them, turns on his heel, and tries the casual walkaway. It lasts 3 steps, a sprint, a scuffle, and he is face down on the tarmac, cuffs clacking around his wrists. In the pocket search that follows, the sergeant lifts 2 keys, one an ordinary Toyota remote, the other a black plastic tag no bigger than a USB stick, etched with a single A. That odd fob will rewrite Scotland's organised crime map before sunrise. Back at the Yaris, the officers thumb the strange tag. A faint whir answers from the boot. The carpeted floor splits on silent hydraulic rams, revealing a steel tray wrapped in neoprene. Nestled inside, immaculate and warm to the touch, lies a Glock 17 loaded with 15 rounds. A smear of sweat on the grip will weeks later match Richardson's DNA profile. The gun itself is pristine, unlinked to any shooting yet. The technicians who dismantle the car over the next 48 hours will call it a work of art. Bluetooth-activated relay hidden in the rear light cluster, false wiring loom to dupe mechanics, the hydraulic ram camouflaged beneath genuine Toyota sound deadening. If the Yaris had been stopped by traffic cops, the compartment would have stayed invisible. Only a full strip-down reveals a second cache, empty but gun-shaped, soldered behind the rear quarter panel. By mid-morning, Richardson is being booked at Helen Street Station, and the Glock is logged into evidence as Escalade 0117, the first physical exhibit in a probe that has so far been all phone charts and rumor. Detective Superintendent Laura Thompson, roused from bed, studies the photos and tells her team, "This is our wedge, swing hard." Within hours, surveillance units are raiding a citywide key cabinet and discovering another tag marked Annie. The war chest is already calling. The catch looks modest: 1 gun, 1 gangster, 1 hatchback. But inside Gartkosh Crime Campus, analysts are red-flagging every ANPR hit on servo-suspicious Yaris models and cross-matching them to Richardson's encrypted BlackBerry pings. A single hydraulic hiss on Church Street has turned a quiet intelligence collection into a live manhunt for Scotland's first super gang. In Escalade lore, they will say the Empire's end began not with a shootout, but with a car boot that sighed open to the January dark. At Barnsley, South Yorkshire, Wednesday 11 March 2015, 6 p.m. Robert Allan, a 45-year-old mid-tier cocaine courier, spots an anonymous note tucked under the wiper of his silver Ford. The message, "Need a word about your parking space," draws him out of the bungalow on Strafford Walk, Dodworth. What Allan does not see is the BMW X5, idling a few doors down, its driver, David Sell, sipping lager while 3 of his enforcers drift round the back of the house. As Allan opens the front door, Sell smashes a beer can into his face. The others pour in through a smashed patio window. Allan wrestles a pistol from one attacker, knees him in the groin, but a second gunman pistol whips him with a Beretta 9000 fitted with a silencer. Cable ties bite into his wrists. A length of chain cinches his torso. "It's not about the money, it's the principle," a voice tells him before he is bundled into a transit van. Sell's convoy tracks the A1, then the bleak A702, to an abandoned grain store near West Linton, Scottish borders. For the next 24 hours, Allan is beaten with a sledgehammer. His left tibia snaps, sprayed with bleach to keep him conscious, then doused with a pressure washer when shock threatens to kill him. One gang member leans in. "You okay, mate? I don't want a murder charge." Sell watches from an armchair, never lifting a hand or a word. Leadership by silent menace. Dawn on Friday the 13th. Allan, hooded, is driven to a verge behind the Morrisons in East Kilbride. A Glock erupts 3 times, 2 rounds through the right knee, 1 through the left. Ordered to crawl up to the motorway, he collapses. The gunmen drag him to the crest, shove him and yell, "Keep rolling, don't stop." He blacks out halfway down the embankment. A dog-walking couple find him minutes later. Surgeons later warn he may never walk unaided. Police Scotland open an attempted murder inquiry. South Yorkshire detectives confirm the kidnap started in Barnsley. Why Allan? 6 months earlier, he had fronted a £45,000 cocaine consignment brokered by Sell's Lieutenant Barry O'Neill. When part of the payment evaporated, Allan tried to return the drugs, still owing £30,000. Instead of paying, he skipped to Yorkshire. For Cell's crew, who prided themselves on no-credit discipline, that was an insult that had to be answered in blood. Allan survives and talks. Still wired to traction in Glasgow Royal Infirmary, he dictates burner phone numbers, descriptions of cars, and the nickname Davy from EK. Those scraps become the first nodes on what Gartkosh analysts will soon label Operation Escalade. 2 years later, forensics will lift Allan's blood from that silenced Beretta in the Anniesland lockup, welding the torture to the gang's war chest and to Cell himself. When the case finally reaches the High Court, Lord Beckett will brand the ordeal brutal and merciless, jailing Cell for 15 years, 8 months, the severest term of the 87-year total. But investigators know that the Empire's downfall truly began here, with a courier who owed 30 grand, a can of lager to the face, and a pair of knees shattered for principle. Gartkosh Crime Campus, a glass-walled hive 30 minutes east of Glasgow, had only been open a few months when Detective Sergeant Anne Kerr slid a slim blue folder across a table ringed with National Crime Agency laptops. The spine bore one word in thick marker: Escalade. It was no more than a working title for 6 unanswered phone pings and 3 kilos of vanished cocaine. Yet the room knew the stakes. Police Scotland already suspected the numbers led to one of the country's most prolific organised crime groups, a probe they would be chasing for years to come. The scribble hardened into doctrine over the next 18 months. Kerr's analysts layered Robert Allan's burner phone list onto ANPR hits, fuel card data and ferry manifests. Shared monitors in the intelligence pod lit up with a motorway triangle. Glasgow, Edinburgh, Barnsley, always at the same hour, always pushed along by encrypted Blackberries that switch SIMs every 12 days. A pattern emerged, 3 nodes pulsing at the center of every overlay: David Cell the fixer, Mark Richardson the gun hand, and electronics whiz Francis Mulligan keeping the wheels turning. By late spring 2016, the name on the folder was promoted to official codename. At a Monday briefing, Detective Superintendent Laura Thompson outlined a 2-step strategy: shadow first, strike later. Budget was signed off for 20 covert watchers, a fleet of beacon-equipped surveillance cars, and Omega, ANPR sweeps across Scotland's central belt, technology the crime campus was built to host. Within weeks, the new assets were feeding a bespoke database nicknamed Escalade 1. Every burner phone IMEI, every fake hire car booking, every low-slung Toyota Yaris that might be hiding a hydraulic gun vault. Intelligence officers began issuing target decks to local divisions, photographs, aliases, bolt holes, and known counter-surveillance drills, so a beat cop in Postle Park could tip the same system as a narcotics agent in Fortaleza. The hunters finally had one language and one map. The codename bought more than funding, it bought belief. When the first silver Yaris hissed open on Church Street the following January, the officers already knew exactly what they were looking at and exactly who they meant to take down. From that moment, Operation Escalade was no longer a scribble on a folder. It was the banner over the biggest manhunt Police Scotland had ever run. Anniesland, West End, Glasgow, 5 February 2017, just after first light. The Annie tag found on Mark Richardson's keyring has been pinging for days. Escalade detectives trace its RFID whisper to a row of lockups on Whittingham Drive. Most doors are rotting plywood. One is a new galvanized roller shutter pinned by twin padlocks. The fobs button answers with a muted click. The detectives cut the locks, heave the door, and meet a dark blue Honda CR-V parked nose-in against the back wall. A second press of the Annie key makes the SUV's rear bumper split on hydraulic rams. Inside the custom steel cavity lie 11 firearms, Glock pistols, a Heckler & Koch Scorpion submachine gun, spare magazines, and balanced on a shelf like an insurance policy, a Yugoslav M75 fragmentation grenade packed with 3,000 steel balls. Every weapon is vacuum-wrapped, grease-free, labeled in neat black marker. Forensics work the scene in respirators. They lift a single fleck of dried blood from a silenced Beretta 9000. DNA confirms it came from Robert Allan's shattered cheek 2 years earlier, welding the Yorkshire kidnap to the Glasgow armory, and by extension to David Cell. The car itself is a lesson in counter-surveillance. Bluetooth receiver hidden in the near side tail lamp, relay wiring routed through genuine looms, neoprene gun cradles bolted to a servo plate that can lift 20 kilos in silence. Detectives photograph every millimeter. Those blueprints will guide vehicle stops for the rest of the operation. Outside, Superintendent Laura Thompson radios the control room. Tell Gartkosh we've got the war chest. Within an hour, the OCCTU armory is logging exhibits, Escalade, Sly 02, 17 through 12-17. and ballistic teams are already matching one Glock to casings from the Ratho drive-by on Robert Kelby's conservatory. The gang's mystique, hydraulic hide holes, clean guns, untouchable logistics, evaporates in a single lockup. From here on, every phone ping, every stash car, and every safe flat is treated as a doorway that might open onto another grenade on another shelf. The Empire has been forced to show its hand, and it is suddenly, startlingly mortal. By 0458, the city is still charcoal grey when the convoys start to roll. From the Scottish crime campus, 6 unmarked Ford Rangers peel away in different directions, radios dark, headlights killed. Their manifest lists 40 addresses, lockups, flats, yards, farm sheds, everyone tied back to the keys lifted from Mark Richardson's Toyota Yaris a fortnight earlier. Operation Escalade's long watch is over. This is the morning the doors go. At 0506, the first ram thunders against a corrugated shutter in Anniesland. The padlocks shear, the steel concertinas upward, and officers flood the gloom. A single bulb flickers over a stash worthy of a Balkan armory. 11 boxed Glock pistols, a Heckler & Koch submachine gun, and an M75 hand grenade sitting brazenly on a timber shelf. A Beretta 9000 with a taped-on suppressor lies beside it, flecks of Robert Allan's blood still trapped in the slide serrations, knitting the torture of 2015 to the haul of 2017. 2 minutes later, 6 miles southeast, the Ram team hits Croftside Avenue. Behind the roller door, a grease-stained workshop where Francis Mulligan and Anthony Woods have been turning a £250,000 fleet of 4x4s into rolling vaults, hydraulic false floors, shielded cable looms, Bluetooth-triggered lifts. The keys marked ANA and Western match 2 more units. Officers are already on their way. By 0523, Western Farm Road is breached. Plasma cutters hiss through a welded hide in the rear wall, exposing crates of vacuum-packed cocaine and jamming rigs bought from the very firms that supply the military. Forensic techs slip the rigs into Faraday bags. The evidence van is full before dawn is truly broken. Across Glasgow, Paisley, Bishop Briggs and East Kilbride, the soundtrack is the same: splintering door frames, shouted clearances, the whine of Kango hammers against safes. One address yields encrypted radios tuned permanently to police tactical channels. Another, a basement flat in Hindland, hides £1.4 million in shrink-wrapped 20 stacked under a child's train set. At each scene, a white paper placard goes up, OCCTU seized, and a number is scrawled in blue Sharpie. By breakfast, the tally shows 40 circled doors and a criminal architecture gutted room by room. Chief Superintendent McLean, boots muddy, watches evidence crates loaded for Stirling Street. "We've never lifted firepower like this in the history of organized crime in Scotland," he mutters to his DI, half pride, half disbelief. By 7:12, sunlight edges over the Clyde as the last prisoner wagon pulls away. Overnight, an empire that once earned £200 million a year has been stripped to splinters. Phones ring cold, stash cars sit doorless in police yards, and every one of David Sell's lieutenants is in a paper suit waiting on duty solicitors. 40 doors, 1 dawn. The super gang's morning has come and gone. Salt Market was slick with rain as 2 blue-lit vans reversed beneath Court 3's archway. 9 prisoners shuffled inside, cuffed wrist to wrist with escort officers. Past crates marked Escalade 0117 to 1217, the Yaris Glock, the Anniesland grenade, Robert Allan's blood-stained jeans. Armed police ringed every doorway, even counsel carried panic fobs. Lord Beckett opened proceedings by praising the ingenuity and courage of detectives who had lifted an arsenal of deadly weapons and more than 1,000 exhibits during 18 months of covert work. He then called each accused in turn. David Sell, the bald, watchful fixer, admitted arranging Allan's kidnap and torture. The judge branded him brutal and merciless and jailed him for 15 years and 8 months. Anthony Woods, who kept the lorry routes moving, received 11 years and 1 month. Electronics specialist Francis Mulligan left with 8 years and 324 days, while kidnap driver Michael Bowman took 7 years. Former infantryman Martin Fitzsimmons, caught with a semi-automatic pistol and £36,000 in cash while still on license for an English gun plot, was handed 10 years and 6 months. Gunrunner Gerard Doherty, who had emptied a Scorpion into Robert Kelby's conservatory, got the same. Cocaine wholesaler Barry O'Neill left with 7 years and 4 months. When the clerk recited Mark Richardson's DNA on the hidden Glock, he smirked. Lord Beckett wiped the grin with 8 years and 9 months. Getaway man, Stephen McCardle, arrested with a second Glock and bundles of cash, received 7 years and 100 days. Beckett's summing up was stark. You brought fear and misery to communities across Scotland, enforcing debts with torture, grenades and automatic fire. This was organised crime on a grand scale. The combined headline, 87 years. He then imposed serious crime prevention orders that will bar phones, foreign travel and unvetted business dealings the moment 5 of the men step out of prison. Outside, Detective Chief Superintendent Gary McLean told reporters the verdict decapitated Scotland's most sophisticated organised crime group. Yet even as the vans rolled back to Barlinnie, Gartcosh analysts were drafting European arrest warrants for fugitive financiers in Brazil. Proof, if any were needed, that Escalade's courtroom victory was decisive but not final. The courtroom lights blinked off in January 2018, but Escalade's story kept mutating like a live wire. First came the vacuum at the top. Within a year, the cartel's bankers, brothers James and Barry Gillespie, vanished into Brazil's interior, and most believe straight into shallow graves. Federal police still list them missing, presumed dead. Their disappearance left a crown for the taking, and Lieutenant James Don White seized it from a villa in Fortaleza, moving loads and ordering firebombings over ghost sims. White's luck ran out when French and Dutch officers cracked Encrochat in mid-2020. Thousands of his live messages, prices, routes, death threats flashed up on Europol dashboards, then on Gartcosh monitors. Brazilian tactical police kicked his door in 18 months later. Extradited under armed guard, he pled guilty at the High Court in Glasgow and, in August 2023, was jailed for 9 years, 10 months. Prosecutors have since lodged a record $126 million confiscation claim. Even as White's jet touched down, Police Scotland's Serious Organised Crime Task Force was counting the collateral. 42 Escalade-branded convictions by early 2023, sentences surpassing 130 years, and the file keeps spawning new cases. In October 2024, 3-foot soldiers John Bonner, Christopher Laycock and David Kelly were jailed for more than 18 years after Encrochat logs tied them to a scheme that hid Colombian cocaine inside fake solar panel generators. One thread showed Laycock boasting to White that a stash contained more than he thought, £1.3 million to be exact. Cutting the cash lines has not cooled the street-level feud. With the Gillespies gone and White caged, rivals carved up the vacuum. Mark Richardson, once Escalade's swaggering gun hand, now shuffles prison corridors under constant threat. Intelligence leaks forced the Scottish Prison Service to shuttle him and ally Barry Baghdad Harvey between jails after filmed assaults and boiling sugar plots surfaced online. Every transfer triggers fresh vendettas. Firebombs in Edinburgh, taped warnings of extinction, even a foiled smuggling run of a pen gun into Low Moss. The violence has spread offshore. On 31 May 2025, Scottish gang figures Ross Monaghan and Eddie Lyons Jr. were shot dead outside an Irish pub in Fuengirola. Spanish detectives believe the hit was commissioned by factions still loyal to Richardson's network. A Liverpool suspect arrested in London is now fighting extradition as Spanish police trace phone data back to Glasgow. Meanwhile, Gartcosh analysts continue to trawl seized phones and crypto wallets. The 2024 Government Progress Report credits Escalade intelligence with multiple ongoing disruptions and hints at fresh European warrants in the pipeline. The case that started with a Glock in a Yaris has now clocked more than 40 convictions, 2 fugitive kingpins, and a chain of retaliation stretching from Sawton cells to Costa del Sol bars. Police like to say the super gang is finished. In reality, it has simply fractured, its shards still sharp enough to draw blood whenever old debts are called in. When the Scottish Crime Campus marked its 10th birthday in August 2024, the exhibition boards in the glass atrium carried 3 flagship case names: Screenplay, Venetic, and Escalade. A caption beneath the seized Glock and grenade called it an international multi-agency operation that rewrote Scotland's playbook for tackling serious organised crime. Escalade proved the power of a single intelligence spine. By funneling every ANPR ping, cash seizure, ferry manifest, and cloned handset into the bespoke Escalade 1 database, analysts at Gartcosh could watch a cocaine convoy leave Glasgow, pop on an English toll road, and surface in Barnsley 5 hours later, all before the driver refueled. That shared screen doctrine is now baked into fresh probes. Officers launching a new operation must show how every partner agency can read and write to the same dashboard. 40 synchronized warrants on 1 January dawn taught investigators that quick, surgical overwhelm beats drip-feed arrests. The Serious Organised Crime Task Force's 2024 Progress Report cites Escalade's dragnet as the model for later mass lifts, noting that the tactic preempts regrouping and destroys group cohesion within hours. The Yaris hide and the Anniesland bumper vault became teaching aids. Every police college cohort now strips a stash car replica before their first live vehicle stop. Equally, Dartkosh's cyber lab rewrote its syllabus after watching Escalade staff jailbreak customized Blackberries, then helped Europol pick apart Encrochat, the same exploit that unmasked Lieutenant James Don White in Brazil. The campus's 10th anniversary press pack name-checked Escalade as the step that aligned frontline forensics with international cyber operations. Serious crime prevention orders given to Cell, Richardson and the rest now template every high-risk sentencing note. Automatic phone bans, upfront account disclosure, and 5-year travel blackouts. Asset recovery officers lifted more than £11 million directly from Escalade defendants, and the live £126 million confiscation bid against White flagged in the task force report shows the policy has teeth well after the last jail door slams. Instructors at Dartkosh call Escalade Case Zero. Recruits learn how a kidnapped courier's phone list grew into Europe-wide data sharing, how a single key-fob led to the grenade on the shelf, and why rushing too soon would have left half the hierarchy untouched. Visiting officers from Spain and the Netherlands, chasing echoes of the same cartel, now study those lecture notes before flying home. News feeds may say the supergang is finished, but its splinters still light up the Costa del Sol and Low Moss prison yard. That continuing violence only underlines Escalade's final lesson. Dismantling a cartel is not an event, but an ecosystem, one that begins with a code name and must be gardened, raid by raid, long after the headlines fade. For every crew weighing up a new stash car today, the whispered counterweight is the same. Remember the Yaris,